Just a reminder before today's programme that Part 2, the previous part of the AMTV DVD Collection, is still available for you to view. And now, here on AMTV, we return to the DVD Collection. Time for Part 3. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here. And welcome back to part 3 of the AMTV DVD collection. Here is the familiar DVD shelf, and just like parts 1 and 2, I'm going to take you on the next shelf down, which is that shelf there, and we're going to see just what I have on this shelf. Now, just a reminder, everything on this shelf in particular is things that I own and have watched at this point. There is one or two of the smaller shelves in the room that we're going to get into in later parts, but for now, we're sticking to the big ones. So without further ado, let's go on to shelf number 3 on the AMTV DVD collection. Okay, what we're kicking off with, an old classic. This is the Gremlins collection, Gremlins 1 and 2. These are some great fun films. The first one was sort of the mid-80s, the second one was 1990, I believe, and funnily enough, I actually ended up watching the second one first. It was recorded off TV for me. I still might have that VHS somewhere. But yeah, I found these fun. I mean, they're rated 15. They're definitely not for maybe little kids. They're quite gruesome in places, but they're both really fun movies. I enjoy them. I'm glad to have them in the collection. Then we have Grounded. This was my favourite Christmas movie for a very long time. It still might be. Not a lot of people remember it. It came out around 2006, and it's basically about these group of kids who are at an airport and they have to get somewhere in time for Christmas. It's something like that. It might be a bit dated now, but I really loved this as a kid, and I'm, again, glad to have it. Now, this is an excellent war movie, Hacksaw Ridge. Now, this was a big contender for winning all the Oscars. It didn't win that many. I think it won it says up there, editing and sound mixing. This film is about, well, Andrew Garfield plays a part where a guy who didn't want to fight in the war necessarily. He wanted to peacefully do his bit, and it's honestly breathtaking. If you didn't see this in the cinema, you're missing out, but definitely check this out. It's a wonderful, wonderful war movie, and probably my favourite war movie at the minute. Now we have this, the Halloween collection. Halloween is a big horror franchise. Sadly, this isn't all the films. I think there's like a rights thing going on. I still don't know if they've ever released a collection with all of them, but this contains Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, and Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Now, Halloween 1 and 2 I think are great. Halloween 3 is very different. Halloween 4 is okay, Halloween 5 is a bit dreary, you know, it all goes a bit downhill from there. It doesn't have Halloween 6 for some reason, which I think is The Curse of Michael Myers. It doesn't have H2O or Resurrection or anything like that. And I still need to see the new version from 2018, but alas, it's nice to have at least 5 of the films on one coherent box set. Now I've got some DVD steelbook action with Hancock. Of course, this is a Will Smith film from 2008 about a somewhat reluctant superhero, if you like. A lot of people hated this film. I didn't mind it at the time at all. I thought it was a good laugh. I probably do need to watch it again, but yeah, I've got it on DVD steelbook. I'm not even really sure why. Now we have The Hangover, a classic film from 2009. This one was the best one, and debatably the only good one. I was never really a fan of parts 2 and 3, even though I saw them all. Now, as you can see, we've got the Harry Potter films, and these are the 2-disc DVD releases. I'm well aware box sets now have, you know, the 2 discs on Blu-rays and stuff, and to be honest, at some point in the future, I might upgrade just to save space. But nevertheless, here we have Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, my personal favourite film out of this whole saga, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, I never actually read Deathly Hallows, I'm not sure why, and a lot of my friends who did say that this is a very unsatisfying conclusion, which is a shame, but honestly, if you see these DVD releases, you're only getting them on DVD, get them for the bonus content. The bonus content in them is really, really good. As I say, I think all the Blu-ray box sets now, or 4K releases, have all these special features in them, double check that, but I think that's all in there. But yeah, it's always nice to have the Harry Potter collection. I grew up on these films. I saw the first one in the cinema when I was 5, and all the way through to this one when I was 15. So yeah, nice to own the whole saga on DVD, but I'll probably upgrade to Blu-ray at some point in the future. Now this is a funny little film. This is Help, I'm a Fish. Now this is a film not a lot of people talk about, but I really enjoy this film. It's from about 2000. It's not from any of the major animation companies, but it's got some pretty big voice talent. I mean, that evil fish there is voiced by Alan Rickman, of all people. It's a really fun film, maybe a little bit dated to some extent, but I think there's a lot of fun to be had in it. So check out Help, I'm a Fish. Don't think you'll be disappointed. And now we have the High School Musical trilogy. Now, don't hate me on this, I was late to this. I never really watched them at the time. It was more at university when a lot of my housemates raved about it, and then we, you know, decided to check it out. And yeah, they're a guilty pleasure, I must admit. Really big guilty pleasure, the HSM trilogy there. Now we have The Hills Have Eyes, a classic horror film from the late 70s. This film is very creepy, and again, not necessarily for the faint of heart. If you get like scared or freaked out easily, you should probably stay away from this one, but it comes in this nice slipcase and it's a 2-disc special edition. But yeah, nice bit of horror history there. Now we have Hitchcock, which was a 2012 or 13 film, I believe, a docudrama, if you will, about Alfred Hitchcock himself and how he went on to make the film Psycho, debatably his most recognisable film. And this had some big names. I mean, Anthony Hopkins is playing Hitchcock, Helen Mirren is his wife, Scarlett Johansson is in it. I think she's playing Tippi Hedren. I need to double check that. But yeah, a really good film, actually. I quite enjoyed it. This is a funny one, Hobo with a Shotgun. I mean, I was sold on the title and the cover art alone. It's got Rutger Hauer in it, who died recently, sadly, who was also in Blade Runner, I believe. And this is just pure fun. It's like a proper grindhouse film, really silly, lots of action, lots of blood and all that sort of stuff. If you're into that sort of thing, you'll enjoy Hobo with a Shotgun, but it is quite ridiculous when you get down to it. Some Disney classic now, Hocus Pocus, of course. This is a classic Halloween film from the 90s. Pretty timeless, pretty fun. Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy are brilliant. So yeah, check out Hocus Pocus. Now these films are fun, aren't they? The Hostel trilogy. These were released in like the mid to late 2000s. Lots of gore. I mean, I think from what I remember of the plot, it results on people like buying the guests and stuff or something messed up like that. Basically, it's very messed up. Very gruesome horror, akin to the Saw films, if not even worse. So, again, if you're not the faint of heart, you don't need to watch this. You need to stay well away. Hot Fuzz, a classic part of what's known as the Cornetto trilogy. This is the middle part, starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. It's probably my favourite part of the Cornetto trilogy, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, Shaun of the Dead is good, and I haven't seen The World's End. Oh, no, I have, sorry, yeah, but I do prefer Hot Fuzz itself. Now this is a weird one, House of a Thousand Corpses. This is an early 2000s film by Rob Zombie, of White Zombie fame, of course. And yeah, it's pretty messed up, as you can see from the cover. And from what I remember, it actually serves as a vague prequel to The Devil's Rejects, which you would have seen in a previous part. But again, one of those horror films, not for the faint of heart. Speaking of which, the original House of Wax from the 1950s, starring Vincent Price. This is a wonderful film, and despite its age, it holds up really, really well. I am aware originally it was meant to be in 3D. I think the Blu-ray version contains that 3D. I'm not too bothered about 3D myself. And as a fun little bonus feature, this actually contains the original, I believe it's the 30s film, The Mystery of the Wax Museum on it, which is a nice little bonus to have on there. But yeah, check out House of Wax, it's a wonderful movie. You've got Hugo. This was a really fun film, a Martin Scorsese picture, of course, and it won 5 Oscars. Yeah, a lot of heart, a lot of magic to it. It's just it's just a great bit of fun. So yeah, I'd recommend Hugo if you haven't seen it. Now this was a very powerful film, Daniel Blake. The basic premise is this guy here is in construction all his life, I believe. He gets made redundant, and then he's basically shafted by the current job system our government has, by the universal credit system. And it's a really sad story, but very powerful, and needs to be seen by a lot of people in our time, I'm afraid. So yes, definitely watch Daniel Blake if you haven't seen it, especially if you're in the UK, very important. One of my favourite films, I, Tonya. I'm a sucker for the sport docudrama stuff. I don't know why, I'm not really that into sport, but I used to train as a figure skater, so this one had a bit of connection to me, and this is a brilliant film, one of my my favourite films ever. I mean, you've got Margot Robbie, Sebastian Stan, Alison Janney. The cast are wonderful. The way the film is done is brilliant. Honestly, like, if you haven't seen it, check out I, Tonya. Brilliant, brilliant movie. Now, an odd one for Daniel Radcliffe. This is Imperium. This is a film where he basically goes undercover as a neo-Nazi. So Daniel Radcliffe with a skinhead spouting racial slurs undercover. It's quite weird, but it's a really great performance from Daniel Radcliffe. So for that alone, I'd recommend Imperium. Then you have The Impossible, a very heart-wrenching film about the tsunami that happened back in 2004. It stars Naomi Watts, Ewan McGregor, and who's that face there? Yep, that is a very young Tom Holland. As I say, this is 2012, so a good few years before Spider-Man at this point. But yes, it's a very harrowing story. It's based on a true story, and I would recommend it, but again, it will probably make you cry. Now, this film was a surprise for me. The In-Betweeners movie, when this came out in 2011, I'd actually never seen the TV show, and I don't know why, but a big group of us were at the cinema. You know, a lot of people had seen the show and wanted to see it, so I went along, and I thought it was one of the funniest films I'd seen in my life. And not all of it holds up today, a lot of it still does. The sequel's a bit but for what it's worth, the In-Betweeners movie is still a really good laugh. And we have Inception, of course, a classic film from Christopher Nolan. You really got to be paying attention to this one, starring Leonardo DiCaprio amongst several others. And yeah, it is as good as people say it is, those who like it anyway. I do need to watch it again, it has been a while, but yeah, classic movie. And the last one on this shelf is In Time. It's still got its CEX stickers. I paid £3 for this, really? This is an interesting one because it's got Justin Timberlake, yes, that Justin Timberlake, and Amanda Seyfried. And it's in a world where the whole premise is you've got like time encrypted on you and you have to buy more time to survive. It's a very odd concept, but it's a really fun film, actually. This looks like a rental copy, yeah. I got it from CX. Need to rip off those stickers. But yeah, I'd recommend In Time, especially if you haven't seen it before. And now we trundle on to the other side of the shelf, and the first one we have here is In the Loop, which is sort of the film pseudo-sequel to The Thick of It, the TV show. Really funny. If you like The Thick of It, you'll definitely like this. Peter Capaldi is fantastic. And fun fact about this, I picked this up on the last day of my local Blockbuster in 2013. Everything was like 90% off, so I ended up getting this for about 10 pence. So, you know, I had to buy something. Next, we have a recent film. This is The Invisible Man from 2020, starring Elizabeth Moss. And this was one of the best horror films of the year. I mean, it doesn't follow the sort of old Universal style Invisible Man, you know, sort of mad scientist turned mad by what he's discovered, but it's a very harrowing film about, you could argue, you know, physical abuse, mental abuse. It's very powerful, basically, and I highly recommend it. Really, really great film. An old classic. Everyone's got to have The Iron Giant. If you don't like this film or don't find it heartwarming, I'm convinced you don't have a soul, but yes, I really enjoy The Iron Giant. I need to upgrade that DVD, actually. The Iron Lady. This is where Meryl Streep played Margaret Thatcher, everyone's favourite. But you know what, as a documentary about Margaret Thatcher and her life, it's actually very good. Meryl Streep does a wonderful job, and I would recommend it to people who are interested in that part of history. It's a Wonderful Life, Gotta Be Done, James Stewart, Donna Reed, one of the most classic films of all time. It's just, yeah, it is a wonderful film about It's a Wonderful Life. So, yeah, highly recommend it if you haven't seen it, but your heart will be warm to no end. And the complete opposite from It's a Wonderful Life, you have the Jackass series. So this box set has the first movie, it has the second movie, and it's got the middle movie 2.5. I love these. I mean, they're just a good bit of fun, you know, guys messing around, being stupid. I also have Jackass 3, which is the first one I saw in the cinema, and that was just as good, if not maybe the best one as the others. I don't have Jackass 3.5, I'm pretty sure they made that a thing, but I hear there's talks they're going to be doing a Jackass 4, but yeah, if they do, I'll probably go and see that. Now we have Jaws, the classic 70s film. And I mean, it's Jaws. What do you want to say about it? One of the greatest suspenseful films of all time, if you like. Now we have a double feature, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but this has two versions. It has the 1932 version starring Frederick March and the 1941 version by Spencer Tracy. Now, back in the day, they made several Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, that's not even the oldest. They made one from 1920. But out of these two, I prefer the 1932 version, way more atmospheric. Now we have Jigsaw, which is the continuation of course, the Saw franchise. It came out a few years ago, and they haven't made another one since, and part of me doesn't want to, because for anyone who remembers the original Saw films, they made 7, and after that, it was kind of the end. It says the game continues. They didn't really need to make this, and some people say, why don't you put it with the Saw films? It's technically Saw 8. Well, yes, I know it is, but it's under J, so I'm going to just keep it at Jigsaw. Thank you very much. Now we have these, John Wick, starring Keanu Reeves, everyone's favourite. I didn't see this at the time when it came out, but I've watched it since, and these films are actually really, really good. I highly recommend them, hence why I picked up John Wick 2 as well. I haven't seen John Wick 3 yet, so I do need to probably pick that up and give it a watch. I'm sure it's just as good as the others. But yeah, really surprisingly fun and cool action film with Keanu. And then we have Jojo Rabbit. This was a fairly recent purchase. I mean, what else is there to say? It's a wonderful film, a great direction by Taika Waititi, and performances all around. Just check it out, it's really good fun. The Joker film, of course, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro. I mean, this swept everyone's expectations, and it is a really insightful picture about mental health, so if you haven't seen it, just know that it is quite a heavy-hander. Always good to note. This is an odd one. Kentucky Fried Movie. No, this is not a film about KFC. It's from the makers of Airplane, Hot Shots, and Naked Guns, so sort of, you know, those parody films. But I think this was before all of those, actually, because this was 1977, and you can tell it's sort of the really early stages of that genre, if you like. It's got a few funny sequences, a few cool cameos, like George Lazenby, the one-time Bond pops up, but yeah, very bizarre movie, Kentucky Fried Movie. Now we have Kes, one of the classic British films. David Bradley stars in this. It's a Ken Loach film from 1969. This is in the HMV movie classics slip art there. So yeah, it's very thick Yorkshire accent, so if you're not used to it, you might need to beware. But yeah, I mean, it's a classic film, Kes. Now we've got the Hood trilogy, which I do file under K, as the first one's K. My alphabetizing system is all over the place, don't at me. So first we have Kidulthood, which came out in 2006. This is all about like the London youth of the time and what it was like, basically. And this one actually has a CD soundtrack part of it, which I think is really cool. But yeah, very harrowing film. Might be a bit dated in some respects, but it's an essential watch, I think, if you're British. Then there was the sequel, Adulthood, which came out 2 years later, and it actually follows Noel Clarke's character, who was the bully in the first one, so it's a nice continuation there. Then you have the threequel, which was titled Brotherhood, which again focuses on Noel Clarke's character, but also features appearances from people like Stormzy, so it's a pretty good conclusion. To Kill a Mockingbird, classic film from the 60s with Gregory Peck. If you don't know the story, if it wasn't taught to you in school, please go and watch this or read the book. One of the most essential films ever, I'd argue. Bit of King Kong now. We've got the original from 1933. This is a very bare bones DVD. I actually got this for free from a library clearance, and it is literally just the film and nothing else. But it's been remastered, so that's alright. Then you got Peter Jackson's, the wrong way. You got Peter Jackson's King Kong. This is actually a 2-disc special edition, sorry. I didn't mind this film, I just thought it was a bit too long. Like, way too long, like most of Peter Jackson's work. And then you have The King of New York, DVD steelbook with Christopher Walken. This is a film from the late 80s, which I surprisingly enjoyed. It's got Lawrence Fishburne and Steve Buscemi and like younger roles. Yeah, check it out if you can find it. It's an Arrow release as well. Then you got Kingsman, The Secret Service. I really enjoyed this first film. It was a lot of fun. I haven't seen the sequel, or I think they made the threequel, didn't they? I haven't seen it, but yeah, this first one, really loved it. Good start, good start. Knives Out, directed by Rian Johnson, of course, of The Last Jedi fame, or infamy for some people. Yeah, really good sort of whodunit. Daniel Craig's southern accent is laughably hilarious. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but yeah, if you want a good brain teaser, definitely check out Knives Out. It's a lot of fun, definitely a lot of fun. Classic 80s film now, you have Labyrinth, obviously starring David Bowie, very iconic film for him, and again, a lot of fun, very 80s. Then you got Lady Bird, which is one of my favourite films. It's a very simple film, but in terms of what it tells about, you know, growing up and being a teenager, about to go into adulthood, it's very, very powerful. I mean, I'd argue it got shafted at the Oscars, but yeah, I love Lady Bird. A Lady in the Van, a fun little film about a lady in a van that Alan Bennett knew, and it's really fun. It's really fun. Check it out. Then you have The Last Stand, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger's first like big return to the movie fold after he stopped being governor. And what do you expect? It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's just a fun, dopey action movie, and that's all we ever want. Few Les Mis now. We've got the film from 1998 that had Liam Neeson, Jeffrey Rush, Uma Thurman, and Claire Danes. It's a completely straight film, no music in that one, and it's alright. Then you have the musical film that came out in 2012 with the likes of Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe. And we have Let Him Have It, which is a very early performance for Christopher Eccleston on screen. It was 1991. A very powerful true story. So again, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend this one. Getting to the end now, we've got a DVD steelbook again. This is Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat, a film from 1944. Very powerful film about like our fellow man and what we do in that sort of situation. And last but not least, we have Lion, which came out a few years back, about an Indian kid, who gets lost, and then he's ended up adopted by 2 Australians. He grows up there, and then he wants to find out his past. Again, very powerful film, very moving film, so I think that's a nice way to finish things off. And that, dear friends, is shelf number 3 of the AMTV DVD collection. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if at any point the camera was a bit wobbly. I am on my knees doing these, so, you know, it aches after a while. I have to move around. But I hope you enjoyed shelf number 3, and I hope you join me next time for shelf number 4. As always, please leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments of the films we looked at today. Do you own any of them, or any of them your particular favourites? Is there still something you haven't seen you're hoping to see on this shelf? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and until the next one, I will see you guys next time. A massive thank you to our producer and director patrons for your support towards us here at AMTV. You just help keep us going, and that's massively appreciated. And that does bring us to the end of another evening here on AMTV. We hope you enjoyed the programme, and we hope to see you next time. Good night.